Okay, I think that's the last pass. I took 1/4 inch off of this metal. Normally it takes, yeah, look at that, exactly 52 inches. You can't believe how close that is. Normally it takes 2 or 3 passes. This is such hard metal that it probably took about 10 passes, and I think it's pretty much worn out that bit. Man, I can't believe how hard this metal is. This is 13, no, what is it? 316 stainless. This is going to be a job. But there we go. We got one more piece cut. We're ready to put it aside and put a little X on my sheet that says, okay, it's all sized up and ready to go. And 52 inches. Oh. So the pipe showed up today, which is pretty phenomenal stuff. This company wants to use 3/8. Can we look through it? Oh, there's the bottom. 3/8 by 4-inch pipe, and that is, I mean, you could pretty much drive a truck up on that stuff, and it wouldn't even affect it at all. So that we got it. We're ready to go. We got probably another dozen parts to show up, and we'll start assembling. Okay, the next part of this project is the pole. And on the drawing, when I first looked at it, it was, 6 inches long. So I went, oh yeah, that's pretty good. It's not that big a deal. And then after about 3 or 4 days, I came back and looked at it again, and I started to see really what it was. And it's, it's pretty much this 4-inch, 3/8 inch walled, 10-foot long piece of stainless steel. Actually, this one bar here cost $1,000. I'm glad I'm not paying for this job. So anyhow, the first part of this process is drilling a hole right in that area there, which would transfer over to somewhere right around in here or so. And we're going to take some measurements, and at the same time, once I drill that hole, then I'll come in and set my center lines for the rest of the welds that are going to happen along the bar here, or along the pole here, because the drill hole pretty much sets center. And then once it's set, then I can come in and just find the top edge of that same line and mark each one of my connecting places. So later on it'll be easy to find that. So we go to the ridge port, and somehow we figure out how to get this probably 150-pound bar of steel into the bridge port, and it's fairly early in the morning, so I don't have any help yet, but hey, what the heck. So we're going to drill a hole in this 4-inch pipe at exactly 91 3/4 inches. I've already set myself up for the length with the mill. Now what I have to do is set myself up to get dead center on the 4 inches. Now I learned a little trick a couple of years ago. Okay, maybe more than a couple of years ago, but I learned a little trick a while back. And that is take a cigarette paper, or really any kind of paper, and you just kind of measure it. And I may have already pre-measured the cigarette paper. It's 1/1000 thick, and you put the cigarette paper in right where your bit is going to go, if I can get it in there. Okay, let's bring this back a little bit. Come on, sweetheart, go in. There we go. And so the paper is just kind of, not quite. I'm going to have to get a pair of tweezers. And so the paper goes on the surface just where the bit is going to make contact with the metal. And basically you turn the machine on, and you just keep nudging up against the thing until the mill bit contacts the paper. And what it does is once it contacts the paper, it just scoots the paper aside, and it's kind of like a wiggler, poor man's wiggler. It scoots the paper aside, and you know you're at the point where you have another 1/1000 to move in to be in exact contact with this side of the tube or pipe. So then you measure your width, divide that by half, move into the center, and you got your exact center point. So we'll go ahead and do that. I got both holes drilled, although I couldn't really drill them. I mean, I got some basic drilling done, but then I come in with a larger bit like this, and the metal is so hard, it just chewed up the bit. And so I didn't want to waste my bits. So I ended up using this little fly cutter here and making the hole the right size with the fly cutter, which, worked pretty good. It has a carbide tip on it, and seemed like it worked okay. So we did that. We got the rest of it to put back in place, and then we move on to more holes. At inch 600,000ths, and then at the same time, since the hole is sitting exactly centered, exactly straight up and down on the pipe here, I came in and I struck a line that's at the very top of the pipe, and went in. I don't know if you can see it, but I put some little divot marks here to give me indication as to where my welds are going to go, where my, there's some straps that come off of here, and there's a bunch of stuff that gets welded to this pipe. So that's going to tell me where the welds are. And also, I put the divots in there because eventually this whole thing is going to get not polished, but certainly sanded and cleaned up. And those, if I just kept with the ink lines, they would disappear immediately. So all the way down, we got the line at the very top of the pole, and then the little divots along the way telling me where I'm going to put everything. So on to the next step. This pipe, I think, is pretty well finished. So we put it aside and we get the next one. Okay, next we're going to drill the 3.5-inch hole in the side of the monitor bracket. And basically, if you look forward here at the end of the table, oops, there goes the cat. Hey, cat! Anyhow, if you look forward here, you'll see back over there the little, not little, 3.5-inch pipe that's going to go over the top of this hole here. And that's, so we got to get that hole in there so they can run wire through there and be able to run the monitor and all the interface stuff. So, let's walk on over to the mill, and we basically have to do the 2 holes, and I've already laid it out. Actually, we have to do 3 holes in each of the plates, but I don't know what that size is yet, because we haven't got the little vents for that. So I'm just going to leave those alone, and we're going to drill this hole, and I've already kind of got it up to about 3/8 of an inch or so. We're going to take that to 3.5 inches, which is probably about that big, and probably go back in with the little fly cutter and take it out.
So this is Patty, and she's working on grinding some of this really scudgy looking stainless steel. And she's doing a really good job. Kind of like Rosie the Riveter. Yeah, totally. So here's Nick.
Yeah, just spent about 3 hours cutting this 3.5-inch hole. Can we see the hole? 3 hours cutting that, but now that I got it down a little bit, I'll probably take an hour to cut the next one. And I have 2 holes to cut, one in this sheet and one in that sheet over there. And back to cutting. There we go. Next part of this process is drilling the holes in this top plate for the bird wire posts, and they're little half-inch holes, and so it's not going to be too big of a deal, I hope. So basically, you can kind of see the posts here, or these are the wires, and these are the posts here. And we'll go back to the next page, and this is to keep the birds from nesting. And you can see right in here, that's about 1 inch in, and the other page said 1 inch in, 1 inch. So we've gone in and we've laid out our 1 inch pattern, and on the other side too, of course. And notice how I missed a couple of times, and it's always that process of measure twice, cut once, and in this case cut a hole once. So I check this 2 or 3 times just to make sure, because I'm always screwing that one up. And everybody's happy, all the measurements are good. Since we're just basically drilling holes, I'm using the Bridgeport as a drill press. I didn't square up this edge to the drill or to the mill or anything like that. We're just going to basically spot some holes and drill them, and we're done. So when I first saw this drawing, I thought, well, okay, they want some pretty good sized tabs here, and I was imagining, something like in this range here, which would be, pretty good. But then I got to look closer, and I'm seeing it's 5/8 of an inch long, 3/4 of an inch total length, with a 5/16 or 5/32 hole in it, and I'm thinking, Jesus, that's almost nothing of a tab. So I started with a piece of metal about this thick, not much thickness, and about that wide, and 24 inches long, and I cut a bunch of segments out of it to match the drawing, and you can see the segment is fairly small. So basically we're setting up in the Bridgeport, and since it's not a real accurate approach, I just used a little piece of wood underneath it so I can just drill straight into it. And then I grab something to kind of block it off of the end of the vise. So I've got a nice square edge off of the edge of the vise. And then go ahead and start the drill up. Let's get a little oil on that. Blip. And it's all set up to go, and basically we're just drilling the heck out of these holes. And again, it's this real hard stainless, so it's not an easy process, even in a small hole like that. But it does come out, and basically there you go. The stainless is pretty hot coming out of there, so I have to get it. So basically that's it. Now what I have to do, I have to round the corners off, of course, in order to match the drawing, but that shouldn't be too much hassle. So 24 more of those, I believe, and we go ahead and start rounding the corners. Okay, we're at it again, fresh in the morning, ready to move forward once again. And here we go in the next step in the little comedy that we have here. And I'm basically going to build a bracket that goes like that. Not too bad, you think? Okay, not too bad. So we bought the metal, and it's 1/4 inch by 2 inch, which in any normal case that would be no problem. But since it's this 3/16 stainless stuff, it's just hard as a rock. I can't bend the stuff. So I had to actually put it in the mill and relieve each little bend so that I could actually bend it. And it also makes it a cleaner edge. And I did this first one up here, and you can it's got a nice little tight little bend going there. It'll make it look really good when inspectors look at it. So basically we're going to come back in here. We're going to put a line here, one here, come over 20-something inches, put another one there and another one there, and then we cut off the scrap. So I think that's going to take probably half of the morning up. But hey, we're having fun. We get to use our machines. So we've come in here real tight, and you can see just underneath the mill bit that I've marked a little mark right there, and that's 4 3/16. And what I do is bring the mill bit back and come down until I get it to touch. Let me see if I can do that. Now it's just barely touching, and then go ahead and strike it and see where that line ends up. And it looks like the line's going to be right on the money. Well, maybe just a little bit off, but probably in this case it's not that big a deal. Now we'll bring it back and see where we got the line now. Much better. Okay, we're going to have a real tight line right there. Let's turn on some lights. Oh, that makes it so much better, huh? Alright, so we're just going to kick back and go ahead and mill this. And we always want to go with the direction of the cutting bit. So a little bit of oil, drop her down, and just walk this thing across. Now this first pass is real easy because it's hardly cutting anything, but as we get down further into that groove, boy, it gets a little more difficult. But each time we'll take about 30-40 thousandths, a little bit more water, and then after a while we'll come in with some coolant, and that'll keep that bit from getting too hot. I've already gone through one bit with that other bracket, and it just burned it out. So 3 or 4 passes here, well, more like 5 or 6 passes. And we'll be right down to where we want to be. This is where it's starting to smoke a little bit, so the bit's getting a little warm. See how as soon as I put that water on there, we get a little bit of steam. Now one of these days soon I'm going to go ahead and get a coolant pump and set this whole thing up so that I can have constant coolant running on it. But for now, well, we just kind of squirt it. Does the same thing, it's just a little more hassle. And what this does is it just weakens the metal right at that one spot, so you get this nice clean bend. You saw in the other one. The little trick I learned back in the Harley days when I used to build sissy bars. I would actually take a grinder and grind away part of the metal, and to make a nice sharp clean bend. Yeah, of course, you know, other people would have these really fancy super duper benders. But, you know, hey, them were the days. You got most of the tools, but you don't got all of them, ever. Never enough tools. Okay, now we're going to start to get a little bit beefy on this. This might be the last pass. And maybe we'll make one more. Yeah, when I was 19, I had a motorcycle shop, and I built custom Harleys, you know, the chopped kind. Back in those days, that's all the young people drove. All us young people, because I was 19. Just as chopped as they could possibly be, just as uncomfortable as you could get, and we didn't care because it looked good. Yeah, I took a couple places in the roadster shows. Built a lot of bikes. Alright, well that's probably gonna be pretty good for that. Yeah, I actually cut it a little bit too deep, but it doesn't really matter because once I get the bend done, then I come back in and weld that little seam back up and it strengthen it right back up. So we take and we move down 20 something inches and we cut again.